Oh, hello there, my fellow American. I know. Playoff basketball has been absolute gas from round one this year. But I do feel like it is my civic duty to tell you that the playoffs of European football is at its penultimate stage. And my God, do we have ourselves a spicy Final Four. The Champions League semifinals are insanity because, by the grace of the football gods, we somehow have been blessed with a Milan derby to decide who makes it to the Super Bowl of European football. And what's even crazier, that's just the undercard, because the main event features two of the world's heavyweights. Last year's champions Real Madrid are here once again, looking to stop Viking sensation Erling Haaland from winning the only trophy Manchester City has yet to capture. This 22-year-old is looking all but a shoo-in for Ballon d'Or, and certainly a Champions League trophy. In his first year with City, would not only pretty much put his name on that golden ball, but it would crown him as an instant legend of the sport. Also, it would be a bit of vindication for one Pep Guardiola, who has long carried the stigma of never winning the Champions League without Lionel Messi on his roster. But the team that stand in their way are the OG Galacticos. The defending champs see this competition as their birthright. 14 times they've lifted that trophy, including last season, where, let me remind you, in the semifinals, they faced, yes, Manchester City, and had a miraculous comeback with only minutes left to play. So they will not be intimidated by anyone while they're still in this competition. But they've never faced a Man City with Baby Thor before, so it is just shaping up to be an epic semifinal round. And as usual, let me be your guide, give you the rundown on all the big names, the key players, all the juicy storylines heading into these two legs. And by the end of this video, hopefully, I'll get you all hot and heavy for European football's most anticipated heavyweight bout. Welcome to a clueless guide to the semifinals of the Champions League. But first, like UEFA, I gotta pay some bills. Hey, it's your Fat Asian, and as you can see, I'm not quite as fat anymore, and that is because I've been making healthier decisions, like drinking AG1. If it's good enough for Science Bro Andrew Human, it's good enough for me. So I thought I'd give it a shot, and the results after drinking it for about a month have been pretty good. I feel like I got more energy, I'm focused, I'm sleeping better, and best of all, I don't gotta take a million pills to get results. It's just one scoop. Throw it in some water, shake it up, drink it up, and I'm good for the rest of the day. It's as easy as that. So what is AG1? It is a comprehensive all-in-one formula that gives you 9 different health benefits in just one scoop. That includes getting phytonutrients that gives you the energy and helps you focus throughout the day. And it's personally helped me kick a nasty habit, paying $5 for a cup of coffee, sometimes 3 times a day. So drinking AG1 has probably saved me hundreds of dollars a month. I'm realizing this just now. And it also gives you probiotics, which not enough people know about this, but your gut health is heavily tied to your immune system. But now there's also a tremendous amount of evidence that good gut health also leads to good brain health. Yeah, a healthy gut can give you more focus and increases cognition, and AG1 will fill your gut biome with more diversity than a Disney theme park ad. And you'll also have the peace of mind of knowing that everything you put into your body is top of the line, because AG1 is NSF certified. They painstakingly test every ingredient in every finished batch of AG1, so you know it's legit. And no matter your diet, they got you. It's keto friendly, it's vegan friendly, it's also dairy and gluten free. So do yourself a favor, give it a try. Go ahead, click on the top link right now, and they're gonna throw in 5 travel packs of AG1 so you can go ahead, have it on the go, as well as a year's supply of D3K2, which helps with your immune system, as well as other tremendous health benefits. All those things are free with your first purchase. So give it a shot. Thank you once again to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the show. So first off, let's start you off with a little Italian appetizer. And all things considered, it's kind of nuts that we have 2 Italian teams in the Champions League semifinal, and neither one is Napoli. Rest in peace to the Seaman God. But as fate might have it, we have a Milan derby on one half of the bracket. And this is as quintessential Italian as it gets. So let's start off with a team that has actually won a Champions League final in the past 15 years, Inter Milan. And what's actually crazy about this rivalry is it started off with it being the same team. Yeah, Inter and AC Milan were just Milan at one point. And Inter would splinter off from AC Milan. Apparently, they were created and named Internazionale because club members were friends with a Swiss player who wasn't allowed to play with AC Milan at the time. And so they started their own team and named it for their more inclusive attitude toward international players. Beautiful, right? Which, is surprising because when Lukaku was first bought for the club a couple years ago, he experienced monkey chants from Caligari fans in one match. Horrible, yes. So the head of the Inter Ultras, which is basically the head of the Inter Super Fan Club, he wrote to Lukaku in an open letter explaining to Lukaku that the racism he experienced was nothing personal. Fans in Italy don't do this to be racist, they just do this to get into their opponents' heads. And if anything, he should take it as a sign of respect, because if they weren't trying to racially abuse him, that meant that they didn't see him as a player worth distracting. He went on to say that these types of chants have been going on for years. In fact, Inter fans have used these chants before and will continue to do them in the future. God damn it! Italy, why are you like this? Your food is so delicious, why do you have to be this way? As for on the pitch though, Inter have been floundering around in the Serie A most of this season, but as of recently have gotten their shit together, winning their last 4 out of 5 matches by a combined 15-2 goals. And this run form has actually led them to leapfrog AC Milan into the Champions League spots. And Inter desperately needs to be in the Champions League spots next year. Because the other thing you need to know about Inter is they are in massive debt. Yeah, the pandemic put them in the hole. Fucking deep in the hole. And if they miss out on that fatty paycheck that they get from being in the Champions League, they might have to be forced to sell half of their stars this summer. In fact, there is no team left in this competition that needs to win the Champions League more than Inter Milan. Because failure to do so could set this club back competitively for a decade. But a cornered animal is a dangerous animal. And to get here, they had to survive a group of death that included Bayern Munich and a resurgent Barcelona. Then they had to take out one of the dark horses of this tournament in a feisty Benfica. Their frontman, Lautaro Martinez, while having an absolute stinker at the World Cup, is still one of the best hitmen in Europe. And is second only behind Osimhen in goals scored in the Serie A this year. Lukaku is still there. He's just coming off the bench most of the time. And their midfield is sneaky good. The Chanoglu guy, he can hit a free kick or two. So can they win it all? They have no choice. They're literally fighting for their competitive lives right now. They have to win it all. And their opponent is an incestuously familiar foe. Of course, it's AC Milan, who, might I add, they have beaten the last 2 out of 3 times they have met this year, including the 2 most recent. So they got a shot. Thing about derbies you gotta know, doesn't matter how strong the other team is, anything can happen. But anyway, let's move on to the red half of this derby in AC Milan. Now the Rossoneri actually won Serie A last year, but they, like Inter, have been massively inconsistent this year in Italy. But as far as the Champions League goes, historically, AC Milan is actually second all-time in Champions League wins at 7. Pretty impressive, but that was a very long time ago, a generation ago. Their last title came in 2007. And in fact, this is their first time in the Champions League in 7 years. But they took out that 7-year frustration by knocking out everyone's darling of the tournament, Napoli. And in the process, has stolen their title as the new dark horse of this tournament arc. They boast a sneaky good roster with a lot of up-and-coming talent, and dare I say, enough talent to win this whole damn thing. Rafael Leao is a Portuguese winger that has blossomed into one of the best young attackers in Europe. You might remember him as the kid who flashed that $1 million smile before the ball even hit the back of the net at the World Cup. And this kid, he has it all. Speed, size, dribbling, and of course, finishing. And his strike partner, Olivier Giroud, he's no one, just one of the most underrated strikers in Europe for the past decade. You know, the guy who's been leading the line for one of the best national teams in the world, France, for a decade. And this team also recently got back one of the world's best goalkeepers from a long-term injury. And this dude was a major reason why they won the Scudetto last year. And his long-term injury this season is probably to blame and why they aren't challenging for another Italian title this year. And as for their engine room, their midfield can pretty much go toe-to-toe with anyone in Europe. So if they can get past their crosstown rivals, I'd give them a puncher's chance against whoever they face in the final. But if I'm going to be honest, the other side of this bracket is the main card, bro. Because this could very well be the true Champions League final, as we shall all bear witness to 2 glorious legs of Real Madrid versus Manchester City. And let's begin with the favorites in Man City. For any Americans who are new to this, Man City this season feels a lot like the Golden State Warriors when they got KD. So unless you're a Man City fan, pretty much no one wants to see them win, because they've pretty much been winning everything in England for the past 10 years. But this competition, the Champions League, is the one trophy they could never capture. So what do? They went out and added possibly the best young player of this new generation. If not for Lionel Messi's last dance World Cup in the middle of the season, Erling Haaland would be the story of world football this year. And in fact, he probably deserves it over Messi. He is a Viking R9 Ronaldo reincarnated, absolutely death starring everything in his path this season on his way to a possible Ballon d'Or, all at the ripe old age of 22. Erling Haaland has hit 35 goals this season, breaking the all-time single-season record for goals scored in the Premier League. Oh, and he still has 4 matches to play. And with Man City recently crushing Arsenal head-to-head in the league, they are now heavy favorites to capture their 5th Premier League title in 6 years. Plus, they're also in the FA Cup final, so they're flirting with their first ever treble in their club's short history. But a Premier League title and FA Cup, they've been there, done that. Make no mistake about it, it's the Champions League which they covet the most. Pep Guardiola and their owner Sheikh Mansour desperately need this more than SpongeBob needed water at Sandy's crib. The final piece to solidify both of their legacies, and for Haaland to come in and deliver them to the promised land in his first season, it would be beyond fairy tale for them. And honestly, it would make me want to fucking puke. Not only as a Man United fan, but as a fan of wanting something different. Anything different. I know, I get it. They've never conquered Europe, okay? But in England, Man City have been the most dominant force for the past 2 fucking decades. And then they get Haaland, 22-year-old Erling Haaland, added to an already stacked roster featuring KDB, possibly the best offensive attacking midfielder in Premier League history. And with the UAE backing them, they have enough money to make Elon Musk blush. And getting this beautiful, blonde motherfucker on their side, it all but ensures that we'll be seeing a lot more powder blue ribbons on those Premier League trophies for the next decade to come. This feels like if the New England Patriots moved on from Brady and got Patrick Mahomes. And in the thought of those fucking powder blue ribbons also adorning that Champions League trophy a number of times over the next 10 years, it's just, oh God! Now, I've said it in the past, okay? It feels inevitable that they will eventually capture this final Infinity Stone. They're the strongest team in this competition. They have the deepest roster, they're in the best form domestically, and they have the single best player in this competition. They should be the favorites to win it all. And the rest of the football world is dreading it. We collectively have a singular feeling, and that is, we're fucked. And the only one who can save us from Oil City's world domination are the team that see this competition as their birthright and are the defending champs, Real Madrid. Now, let me be honest, Los Blancos are not in the same form they were a season ago, because you gotta remember, at this point a year ago, Karim Benzema had gone full Super Saiyan. His run form not only made him the best striker on the planet at the time, it also carried Real Madrid to yet another Champions League triumph, and his first Ballon d'Or at the ripe age of 34. This year, he's returned back to earth with a pedestrian 4 goals in the competition. They also lost the best defensive midfielder in the world in Casemiro, who was a key cog in so many of their Champions League runs. And in La Liga this year, they've looked uneven, toiling, 11 points behind a resurgent Barcelona with only 6 games left. Yeah, they're not running it back this year. Make no mistake about it, they are not the best team in this competition. And they're not even as good on paper as they were a year ago. And to Real Madrid, none of that will matter, because this is Champions League Real Madrid. And Champions League Real Madrid just doesn't care. They've heard it all before. Just last year, on paper, they were the best team versus the Liverpool side, who at the time was considered one of the greatest Premier League teams ever assembled. And what did Real Madrid do? Just win 1-0. Easy. They weren't the best team last year when they were down 2 goals on aggregate with only 15 minutes left to play versus Man City. And what do they do? Score 2 last-second goals, 1 in injury time, take it into extra time, and win it. It doesn't matter. Time after time after time, history has shown us to never count out Real Madrid in the Champions League. 14 European titles, more than double any other team in history. And with the run they went on last year, it doesn't matter what the scoreline says. And if their manager Ancelotti is giving the people's eyebrow on the touchline, then this team will believe that they can still win. Yes, Benzema hasn't been the sharpest all year, but their 2 Brazilian wingers have picked up the slack, with Vinicius Jr. possibly putting himself into the Ballon d'Or conversation. And then there's Rodrigo, who always seems to pop up and score a clutch goal when they need him most. And might I remind you, in the previous round, Bayern, even though they got smacked by Man City, where they did find success was on the wings. So Vinny and Rodrigo are gonna eat. And while Mbappe might be the fastest player on the planet, Vinny Jr. might not be too far behind. The kid looks like he has rockets up his ass. So look for him to claim a couple of hamstrings over these 2 legs. And of course, you have the old faithfuls, Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, who are a year older, but still as wily, manning that midfield. And their defense has become a bit more solid ever since they started playing Camavinga at fullback. Still, the task they have ahead of them is Herculean. Containing Erling Haaland and a loaded Man City side is no easy feat. And with the second leg played at the Etihad, there's just something, just a little bit of something, about playing that second leg on the hallowed grounds of the Santiago Bernabeu. Undoubtedly, whoever comes out on top on this side of the bracket are going to be heavy favorites to win it all. So you do not want to miss these 2 legs. And if Man City want to be crowned the new royalty of Europe, it's fitting they're going to have to do it by going through the most crowned team in European history. Or will there just be another moment where Man City fucks it in the Champions League? Because Real Madrid being clutch in this competition is part of football heritage, then Man City choking in this competition is also part of football heritage. Throughout the years, the shenanigans that have kept them from winning this thing are comical to this point. The infamous injury time VAR check versus Tottenham. The choke in the final to an inferior Chelsea team. And then just last season, choking away a 2-goal lead on aggregate with only 15 minutes left to play. It's as if the oil money that they paid for this team has cursed them in Europe. But with all due respect to Sergio Aguero, this team has never had a striker like Erling Haaland. The Milan derby, while tasty, is all but an appetizer, as this is the match that is going to be the true Champions League final of this year, if you get my drift. And you do not want to miss a second of either one of these legs. And that is going to be it for my guide to the Champions League semifinals this year. If you want to watch it, you got to go ahead and pay for Paramount Plus. It's not too expensive, if not for the final month. Also, before I go, I'd like to invite everyone here to be part of FIFA history. I was contacted by a nice young man who's asked me to put the word out and sell these sweet-ass kits to get Micronesia into the FIFA World Rankings. But currently, they have to afford the flights to actually play each other because Micronesia is a series of islands. They need to raise around 15K, and they're already at 10. With them aiming for a successful tournament in July, if that happens, they'll get on the map for FIFA and eventually get into the FIFA World Rankings. And you purchase one of these kits, you could say that you were actually part of FIFA history, footballing history, which is pretty badass. So yeah, I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. And yeah, as always, I'd like to go ahead and give a thanks to all my patrons keeping me alive and well and keeping these videos pumped out. If you did enjoy this video, go ahead and smush your nipple into the like button right now. Helps me infinitely in this godforsaken algorithm. And I'll be back next week to talk to you about the #1 bottle jobs in the Premier League. Oh, Arsenal. But until next time, as always, America.